Shalom, shalom. This week's parsha is Parshat Beha'alotcha. And I want to take this opportunity to discuss friendships and the importance and value of them. And in order to do so, I want to take a look at the relationship between Moshe and Yitro, because I believe they're emblematic of what a good, true friendship is. So in order to do so, we take a look, start from the beginning, Parshat Shemot, when Moshe is forced to flee Egypt. And he's going and he goes to Midian, where he sees that Yitro's daughters are trying to draw water from the well, and there are these rabble-rousers harassing them and not letting them, and he's their savior and allows them to draw water and go home. And when they get home, Yitro inquires about why they're back so quickly, and they tell him how Moshe had saved them. And Yitro right away, he has a hakarat tov, and he appreciation, gratitude for what he did, and he saw that what Moshe had given to his daughters and to him, and he said, bring him home. He wants to, in turn, invite him into his home and to feed him, and he gives him bread, which means food, a meal, and Moshe sees that Yitro is such a good person, and he desires to stay with Yitro. Yitro is giving him back, and through his encounter with Yitro, he sees that he's a quality person, and he desires to stay there, and he stays there, and he performs menial tasks. And Yitro gives, again, his daughter Tzipora to Moshe as a wife, and Moshe in turn gives to Yitro by performing menial tasks, becoming a shepherd, which is, you have to remember, he came from a life in a palace since he's a baby and went into being a shepherd. The contrast in the two is huge, but he did it besimcha, to be in this life with Yitro, who was a quality person who he learned a lot from. I think that Moshe became a really good leader by learning, because Yitro was a leader for his people in Midian, and he saw the care and concern and love of Yitro in the way he brought up not only his daughters but his community. And also from doing this, when you do something sometimes for somebody, you gain the most himself. By being a shepherd, he learned how to take care of the flock, which he was going to have to do in the future. So learning on a human level from Yitro and the way he did it, and learning how to care for a group unit, how to take them on a way. All this went into helping him build his character as a leader, and he gained this from Yitro as well. And then we see, right, then the whole story of when he's with the flock, and when he runs after the burning bush, God comes to him, gives him his mission, right? And now he knows that he has to go on this mission. And instead of going to Yitro and saying to his father-in-law, God came to me and he wants me to be the leader of this nation and take them out of Egypt, and he doesn't say that. What does he say? He knows how to appeal to Yitro, because he knows and he sees that Yitro cares very much about his people, how each one is like a family member, like an ach, like a brother. So he says to Yitro, I need to see if my brothers are still alive, because he knows that this is going to appeal, that the life force of his brothers that's something that Yitro can relate to, and that's something that Yitro will bless his journey, and he won't try and stop him. And so Yitro does. He says, go to them, and he blesses him to have peace. And then Moshe goes and he does everything God tells him, and this is the Exodus, and he's in the desert, in the wilderness, and we hear, it tells us that Yitro heard all that God had done for the people, and so he wants to come to meet Moshe there, and he comes to meet Moshe there, and you see right away how the connection, the love connection between Yitro and Moshe. Moshe comes in and he tells him everything. He pours out his heart, and he's talking to him, and they're like very excited to see each other, and there's so much love there. And now this is very important. The wording is very important, because when Yitro comes, it says, and Moshe told him all of the good that God had done for them and saved them. It says Vayichad Yitro al kol hatova. Now Rashi says Vayichad means he was very happy on all the tova, all of the good that God did for Israel. Now, I think that this word tova, it's going to come in our parsha, and it's really, really important to understand before we go on with the story what tov means, because tov first appears in Bereshit, in the very beginning of the Torah, when God creates the world. He uses the word tov 5 times until the end. He says tov ma'od when he creates people, but in the creation of the world, he uses the word tov a lot. And what does tov mean? Good. Good means that good is something that it's internally, inherently valuable and sustainable, and something that is just, it has value that should be in the world and should stay in the world. And Yitro was looking his whole life to find this good. What is good? He was looking for truth. He was looking for God. He was on a search. He was on a quest. And that's why when he heard everything, he came there. He wanted to learn about it. He wanted to see it. And when he heard everything from Moshe, Vayichad, it says a simcha. But you know what? A simcha, you know what happiness and what true joy is? Is chad, when it's one. And this one is the wholeness that Yitro felt at that moment when he heard tov. This is what tov is. This God and everything, the justice that God had performed, the miracles and everything, he saw good so clearly in his eyes that he felt a sense of completion, of unity. That's true simcha. And this is what the word means. And that's when the next time we see that Yitro gives Moshe is, we're told in the story that Yitro sees that 24/7 Moshe has people coming and going, and he's advising them and he's giving them counsel. And Yitro says to him, you can't do this. This is going to destroy you. It's going to destroy the people. He says, lo tov. He uses the word tov again. Not good, not sustainable, not something that should be. And tov is very, very important to Yitro. And he says to Moshe, this is not good. And then he gives over Moshe counsel about making this hierarchical system of the courts of thousands, hundreds, tens, and then coming to Moshe, who, if need be, has to go to God for counsel. And that there will keep a healthy nation, a healthy Moshe, a healthy system for the people. And Moshe knew right away that this advice is coming from Yitro from a place of love and from a place of caring. It was genuine. You know, there are other people who could be like, oh, well, Yitro's a leader and he's not a leader of 600,000 people, and he's jealous and he's trying to bring me down. No, none of that even enters the mind. He knew it was from love. He knew it was from care. He knew that he wanted him to have a successful journey. And so he takes advice right away, brings it to God, and incorporates it. And this is something that Yitro gave to Moshe. And I think that, again, Moshe learned how to be a good leader a lot from Yitro. And now when you get to our Parsha, and Parshat Beha'alotcha, and Moshe implores Yitro to stay with them. First of all, you see the love right away, because when it's telling us the story of him imploring Yitro to stay, it calls Yitro by his other name, Chovav. Chovav comes from the word chiba, love. What is love? It's all about this giving. And we see how Moshe gives to Yitro and Yitro gives to Moshe. And they're both always giving the other. And all of this investment of love and care going into really building a strong bond between the two of them. So much so that Moshe doesn't want to go on without him. He wants him to stay. And when he wants him to stay, you see that Moshe uses this word tov 5 different times. He says it will be good for you, and he uses in the narrative the word tov 5 times, like when God created the world on 5 different days. It says tov until he created man and woman, and then it says tov ma'od. And again, thinking about that, when God created woman for man, God said lo tov liyot adam. It's not good for man to be alone. Lo tov, not good, meaning a person cannot exist in solitude, in loneliness. They need that relationship of someone who they can come to, a confidant, someone who will be their cheerleader, somebody who will champion their cause, someone who will lift them up when they're down. And a person needs to be there for you, and you need to be there for a person. You need to give that as well. And this is what really gives a person stability. And God saws, and God says, lo tov, for a man to be by himself. And Moshe really found that relationship, that closeness with Yitro. And that's why he implores him so much to stay. And I think that this relationship shows like everything that they gave one another. And you even see when Yitro refuses to stay, when he first asks him, he says, no, I am going back to my land and to where I was born and to my land, and he's going back to his people. And I think that him being with Moshe and seeing Moshe's commitment, that Moshe went back because he said he needs to go back to his roots, to his people, and to take care of them. And I think Yitro being there and seeing the connection and the devotion of Moshe to his people made Yitro feel obligated more to go back to his people and to do the same for them. Again, they're constantly learning from one another and making each other better people, better leaders. They're both there constantly uplifting the other and making the other a good person. And this is something the Torah wants us to learn from. This is the Torah is telling us, is that even a Moshe Rabbeinu, who's so close to God, God speaks to him. There's nobody who's closer, it tells us in this parsha, nobody closer to God than Moshe was. And you think that maybe, God is everything, that would sustain a person. You don't need anything, you just need your connection to God. And God is telling us here, no, I don't care how close you are to me. You cannot stay there in your lonesome solitude, pray and learn, and think that will sustain you. You need to have connection with another person. You need things, advice, counsel from a human being, and you need to give to the other people as well. There has to be that relationship, and that's the only thing that can make a healthy person, even a Moshe Rabbeinu. And so from this, that's what God is telling us. And I think nowadays, where people come more and more isolated, we have to understand that it's important to get out. And like Yitro went face to face with Moshe, go out and be with your friends face to face, and really invest your time in other people, in giving to other people, in being the champion for their cause, and giving them advice, but from the heart, from love, because you care and you want what's best for them. And this will sustain you. Shabbat Shalom.